Archimedes was one of the earliest mathematicians of all time. He invented this, a way to discover the area of a circle. He also invented this, the Archimedes screw, an easy way to get water. He invented this too, an early version of an arrow launcher. This is a later version of his Archimedes screw. This is a special thing he built called the Archimedes crane. It is used for picking up boats out of the water. This is another invention of his called the Archimedes heat ray. It's supposed to use the sun and mirrors to burn enemy ships, but it really never worked. He also invented this too, and this. This, a special kind of grappling hook for latching onto enemy ships. This, a failed perpetual motion machine, and this special kind of catapult, which is very effective in war. So clearly, we have a lot to talk about. Give him a hand, everybody! Guys. Here, okay, chill, thank you. So, we're going to figure out how Archimedes here became one of the most important mathematicians of all time. Cue music! Archimedes was born in 278 BCE in Syracuse, Sicily, and died 211 or 212 BCE in Syracuse, Sicily. He is best known for discovering the relation between the surface and a volume of a sphere and its circumscribing cylinder. He also created Archimedes' principle and a device for raising water still used in developing countries, the Archimedes screw. He played an important role in the defense of Syracuse against a siege laid by the Romans in 213 BCE by constructing war machines so effective that they long delayed the capture of the city. When Syracuse eventually fell to the Romans, in the autumn of 212 or spring of 211 BCE, Archimedes was killed in the sack of the city. His most notable contribution to modern mathematics is Archimedes' principle, which states that the upward buoyant force that is exerted on a body immersed in fluid, whether partially or fully submerged, is equal to the weight of the fluid that the body displaces and acts in the upward direction at the center of mass of the displaced fluid. Archimedes' principle is a law of physics fundamental to fluid dynamics. This pretty much means the more volume an object has, the more water it can displace. The most notable quote is that if you give me a big enough lever and a place to stand, I can move the earth. One of the most common myths about Archimedes is when the king asked him to see how much gold was in his crown. Archimedes was stunned, but that night when he took his bath, the water was almost coming over the edge, but when he sat down, the water came up over the edge. This is me demonstrating Archimedes' principle. My hand has more volume and thus pushes the water out of the way. This spoon, having less volume than my hand, does not push the water up out of the glass. It still pushes the water, just not enough to take it up out of the glass. Whereas my hand can do it in both glasses. In conclusion, Archimedes was an ancient Sicilian mathematician whose famous ideas are still in use today in modern mathematics.